Women of Reddit, what are some obvious hints that you made to guys you were into that flew right over their heads? Completely undressed in front of him and undid my hair. Then proceeded to tell him I was taking a bath. And I lit candles and shut the lights off. He followed me in. Got my hopes up. And then sat fully clothed on the toilet talking to me about serial killers. For 30 minutes. I'm the guy. I was making eyes with this girl all night at a party in college. Finally, when I bumped into her at the keg, she turned to me and asked me my name. I was really nervous. I laughed and asked her why she wanted to know my name. She then said, I ought to know your name if we'll be bumping into each other all night. I thought she was telling me to stop bothering her. So I said sorry and left. Like I said, I was nervous. We should go for drinks sometime. Well, I don't really go to bars. And you'd have to drive, so you couldn't come to mine for drinks. I could always stay over. If you'd like. Maybe. My recliner chair's pretty comfy to sleep in. Eventually I just went for the I've been flirting with you for months now. Are you interested or not? Approach. He just didn't think for a second that it was mutual, so never noticed the hints. My now husband and I were childhood friends and we reconnected when I was in college. A few weeks into dating we were hanging out alone at his parents' house. Then this happened. Me. I haven't seen your bedroom in a while. Him. It hasn't changed. 8 years later. We still laugh about that one. I was at a party talking to a girl about 2 weeks ago. Everything was going great when sex casually got brought up and she mentioned how I come really fast. It's like what I'm known for. Pretty clear sign, right? Well, obviously not. I said, girl. Me too. Had a near miss with my ex before we started dating. She messaged me saying she just picked up some drinks and was about to go to a friend's party, but she asked if she could visit me instead. Stupid me was like, oh, but I'm sure you'd have more fun at the party, and this went on for a few minutes. Then she finally had enough and said, I got drinks. I really like you and I'm horny, so do you still want me to go to the party? Full stop. Ooh. When I was in high school, a girl from my class said I should come over and study in her bedroom with her. I was like, nah, I don't really care if I fail the math test anyways. Oops. I also did fail the math test. WTF is wrong with you? Met a nice, interesting, funny boy at a bar, still living at home. Relevant. And we talked for a good hour or two. He walked me to the train station. And it turns out I just missed the last train home. I said, gee. Too bad you live with your parents. I could totally crash at your place. He said it's fine and we headed back. He made me up the spare bed at the other end of the house and said goodnight. After a while I texted him saying I couldn't sleep. Did he want company? So we hung out in his room. He invited me into his bed since I looked uncomfortable sitting next to it. We spent the night together in a single bed without a single thing happening. I'd only ever been with one guy. So I just figured I had no mojo. Turns out he was trying to be respectful since he really liked me. And we ended up dating for 5 years. Chatting with him on FB every single day for 3 months. Inviting him to things. Giving him tickets to sports games. 3 months later he grabbed my hand to help me off a curb and I didn't let go. Suddenly he got it. 5 years later we're still together. I'm less subtle now. I'll just grab his DCK. I'm a guy. But my biggest missed sign has got to be sophomore year of college. I was hanging out with this girl late night on a Friday one-on-one in a common area. And we're talking about trips we'd taken around the globe. She mentions that she got a pair of Pikachu panties in Japan and asks me if I wanted to see them. I said now that's pretty weird. And then left like 15 minutes later. A long time ago I ran into my then extremely fit, extremely attractive neighbor one night and we got into a conversation about how crappy our fridges were. After a few minutes she asked me if I wanted to come in and check out her fridge. I was like, dang. This lady really wants to talk about her fridge. I guess I'll be a good neighbor and listen for a while. I know. So, I went inside and she proceeded to show me her fridge while standing really close to me. I remember thinking, dang. This lady has no concept of personal space. I honestly thought she just wanted to talk about her fridge. For some reason it never dawned on me that no sane woman would ever invite a virtual stranger back to their apartment if they weren't interested in doing something fun and dirty. Or murder. But she wasn't the type. Needless to say, I left about 5 minutes after entering. Edit. Thank you so much for the gold and silver. Kind strangers. Guy here. I was walking a friend home one evening and I mentioned to her that I am quite oblivious about when a girl likes me. I said a girl could smack me on the head and I wouldn't realize she was into me. She then smacked me on the back of my head and I responded with ow. What the hell was that for? Full stop. The day my husband, then friend, went to tell me he was into me and wanted to officially start dating. He was super nervous. Since he prompted the date and discussion, I was going to let him start it off and then I'd just be like yes. Me too. While he was unable to communicate for about 10 minutes and was skirting it due to being super nervous, I flat out told him you're not going to be rejected. Just say it. I must have said it at least 3 times before I gave up and just kissed him. I'm a dude that has missed some obvious hints. The worst one was when I was in college. I was at a house party and a bunch of us were playing some drinking game with cards. If someone drew a certain card, then everyone had to ask the person to their left a question and that person then had to ask a question to the person on their left. Whomever did not ask a question or answered a question posed to them lost and had to drink. There was this very attractive brunette sitting to my left. When it was my turn to ask her a question, I said, nice pants. Wanna duck? Note. This was not an actual attempt to get laid. I was drunk and thought it would be hilarious because most of the questions were pretty innocent. To everyone's surprise, she looked at me and said yes, then took a long drink of her beer. I asked my current boyfriend out for coffee 12 times. He would always just respond with, I don't like coffee much. And when I would invite him to get lunch or dinner, he'd always invite another of our mutual friends to join in because he thought I was inviting him as a friend. Jesus Christ, my boyfriend might be the most oblivious person I've ever met. But by far, my favorite moment was before we started dating. I'd already been flirting with him hard for months and he wasn't getting it. So on his birthday, I sent a very aggressively flirty text followed by the bikini emoji and oops. Looks like I lost something. The whole conversation was dumb. But I thought it was obvious enough. Apparently it wasn't. Pretty sure he thought we were joking around, so instead of a steamy response, I got a lol nice one. I got frustrated and just said, I'm sending you nudes now. Happy birthday. He got so flustered. It was so cute that I couldn't be mad about my failed sexting attempt. I sat in front of the door and made him pick me up in order to leave. Taking off my bra under my shirt every night we hung out with friends. Eventually I was straddling him in his bed and tickling him until he finally asked if I wanted him to kiss me. Let me elucidate that for you. 1. She's doing the door thing again. I suppose she finds it cute. Whatever. 2. Bras must be uncomfortable. And apparently she's not enjoying hers. And trusts me enough to not be shy about it. Whatever. 3. Jesus Christ. I know women get physical with their friends more often. But this tickling shitty has got to stop. I am so deep in the friend zone my status changed from lamb to body pillow. 4. 8. This has been going on for a while now. Maybe she likes me? Better ask. Edit. Thank you for the gold. Kind stranger. I had been studying with friends all day for a chemistry final my second year of college. All my friends were freshmen because I had switched majors. We went back to my, now, boyfriend's dorm to drink a little and decompress. Note. His roommate had finished finals and moved out earlier that day. So he was the only one living there. We're a pretty open friend group. and tipsy me had been complaining about how I hadn't gotten laid in months. Fast forward to when everyone leaves. I ask if I can sleep over on his futon because I don't want to drive home. He says no problem. I let him know I can't sleep in jeans and take them off. He turns around to sit at his desk and do something else. I go to sleep. Months later, September 2017, he admits he was nervous as hell and wanted to. And didn't want to mess up. So a few days later, I was the one to eventually just pull him into his bedroom and duck the daylights out of him. Been dating over a year now. He's still a gentle, oblivious lil nugget and I adore him. Literally put his hand on my boob. It wasn't until I got my clothes off that he got the damn hint. Edit. Since there seems to be a little confusion. We had conversations about our relationship. Knew where it was heading. He was concerned about consent on my part, so I had to make it blatantly obvious. My current BF and I met through Tinder. The conversation had been going pretty well, so we decided to meet up at a bar for some drinks. A drink and some chips later. The bar was closing, so we walked around the car park and into the warehouse. Pretty much the New Zealand version of Walmart. We ended up in the book section reading the steamy parts of romance novels to each other and having a good laugh. He then showed off his car and drove me back to where mine was parked. Despite all of my flirting, he didn't make a single move. I left feeling fairly disheartened. I texted him when I got home saying I got back safe, and he replied with "I feel like I should have kissed you," to which I told him that's what I'd wanted. Fast forward a few days. I drove to his house with pizza. Cuddled up with him to watch a movie. And just before I had to leave, I decided that I had to make the move. Been together ever since. But I won't let him live it down. I'm shy and bad at making moves, so I bake them cookies and other sweets until the end of days. I had a girl recently find out that I live close to her. She said she should come over some night to play PS4 and grab a cup of tea in case it's not common slang, but said she wouldn't be free until around 11 PM. I told her it was alright. I only had one controller anyway. She hasn't talked to me as much since. Guy here. Went to a concert with an old friend and got drunk. She is from out of town and crashing in my guest room. We get home and she asks if I wanted to cuddle. I shrugged and said sure, why not. Lay in bed ready to fall asleep and she grabs my DCK. In my head I was like, oh cuddle. Before my now wife and I started dating, she messaged me, "I want you." My response? Good to know. Lucky that it ended up working out. Very lucky. She invited me to her flat to hang out. So we hung out. After about an hour she said, "Do you want to leave?" I said no. Why? She said, "Because I brought you back here so we could duck and you've been trying to make small talk for the last hour." Apostrophe. Oh. And that's the story of how I lost my virginity at 21 years old. Sent a guy friend a picture of me in just a tank top. Pulling the lower part of it down to cover my lady bits. Honestly a really SI picture, I thought. Also let him know I was bored and lonely. Nothing came from it. He told me a couple weeks later that he had a huge crush on me, but I had moved out of town. Still wearing clothes. Too subtle. Posting for my wife. As she's not a Redditor. When we first met, I was still a smoker. She brought in cigarettes the next day. She's never smoked, to give herself an excuse to be around me. She wore the lowest cut top I've ever seen, and when we were alone together she'd often say she really needed a massage. I went back to hers one evening to help her with her studies. And despite her changing to her underwear partway through, that's exactly what I did. It took me 2 weeks of this to finally click on a man. Ardents. Before I started dating my husband, I went swimming at his apartment and asked to take a shower so I could rinse the chlorine out of my hair, freshly dyed red. Wanted to keep it nice. I asked him to untie my bikini top BC, I couldn't reach it and he did. I let it fall and turned around to face him topless, and he had left me alone and shut the door behind him. He was a decent guy. I give him props for that. This will probably never see the light of day, but here's my fun story. Guy here who was just a bit late on the hint. I was really into this girl in high school. One day our friend group was getting milkshakes after finals week was over, and as everyone was leaving she said that she was going to go home and that nobody would be there. She then turned to me and in front of all of our friends said, "Hey Gobach, why don't you come keep me company?" Stupidly I said no and walked by to my house. About 2 blocks from my house I sat down for a few minutes to think over my life. Had sex with him. And I think he still didn't understand that I was into him. When I was in my early 20s I was kinda sorta dating this girl. I remember feeling like she wasn't that into me, so I just kinda faded away and quit talking to her. I remember seeing her post stuff online like, "I hate it when you meet someone new and they just quit talking to you." I never put 2 and 2 together and realized she was referring to me until years later. I mean, to be fair, when I was a young teenager a girl told me she was going to take a shower and asked if I wanted to join her. I just laughed it off. Because obviously she must have been joking. Right? I still kick myself for that one. Don't worry my man. In high school this hot chick I liked slipped a condom into my back pocket. What a weird prank. When my current boyfriend and I started talking I had decided to organize my art supplies, which had included glitter. I took my shirt off so that I was only in my tank top and rubbed glitter all over my cleavage. I then sent him very suggestive glittery cleavage photos with a caption about how I had accidentally spilled some glitter. He still says to this day that he probably wouldn't have ever picked up on that hint. Wait, what was the hint? Bumped into a girl in a nightclub I crushed on at school for the longest time. We had a really great catch-up chat where she said, "Remember how you used to keep asking me out in high school?" She'd always turned me down. I was like, "Yeah, haha. Sorry for being such a dork." Anyway, not long later she said, "I've got to go to the ladies. Why don't you come and wait for me outside?" And me, not wanting to follow her around like a lost puppy like I did in high school, just replied with, "I'd better go find my friends. It was nice seeing you again," and I left. We never saw each other again. Sometimes I think there might have been a message there, but I'm glad I left. I think you made the right choice. Can I take a nap on your bed again? I'm going to take off my pants because I can't sleep with them on. Do you want to take a nap too? She could want sex, but she's probably just tired. When I was pretty young, I was at my then girlfriend's house and she wandered off to the bathroom. Eventually she called my name. I wandered over and found her in the bathroom doorway, mostly nude. She asked if I wanted to help her shave her legs. I said nah. That's kind of weird, and wandered off. That's a weird hint. Just saying. Went out for breakfast on Valentine's Day a few years back. Treat yourself kinda thing. I had an odd morning already from dealing with a break-in at a rental property I was looking after while my parents were out of town. Guy at the rental was weird, so I was mostly still thinking about that whole situation. Not really focused on reality. Finished breakfast and was paying at the diner till. And the lovely young lady at the till asked me if I had any plans for the rest of my day. Work, I replied. How about tomorrow, Sunday? Working on a project for school. How about Monday, a holiday? Studying for a midterm. 2 hours later I was chatting with a co-worker about our respective days. And as I was telling them about my day, it finally sank in that women do not ask your plans for the next 2 days just because. Edit. And now my lurker ass highest comment is about this story. Thanks all. I had a girl keep sending my topless pics while she was home alone, but she was pointing out how long her hair was. I was like, yeah. Your hair is pretty long lol. I woke up around 2 in the morning kicking myself for not getting the very obvious hints. Another time with a complete different girl on our first date we were watching Ant-Man. I remember joking around saying I could do that about dumb things, making her laugh. Well, when the kissing scene came she asked, "Can you do that?" while close to my face. I was like, man, I don't know. I might have to practice and then watch the movie. When I dropped her off and was driving home and had to slap myself. The first time I went out with my current GF. We spent the entire day getting drunk. Toward the end of the day she started saying things like, "Can we go back to your house and watch a movie? And I don't want to go to another bar. Maybe we can do something else." In my head I was thinking, is this she trying to tell me something? Probably not. Thankfully I eventually picked up on it. To be fair, that's kind of vague. She could have actually wanted to watch a movie. Always got to play a really boring movie just in case. Well, a lot of go away hints. I think my friend is calling me sorry. I don't really know, you know I am not interested. Guy here. Years ago while I was in college. My area was experiencing an exceptionally cold winter. A female classmate calls in the middle of the night for a ride home from work. Her car won't start. 25 below zero. 1 AM. Sure, no problem. My car barely starts. Creaks and groans in protest the whole trip across town. I picked her up and we make it back to her house. She says thanks for helping out with the ride and asks if I'd like to come in and warm up. And that it wasn't a problem waking anyone because her parents were out of town. I mean, it's cold as duck out. And I'm bundled up like friggin' Eskimo. I can feel the snot dripping from my schnoz. And my hands are half numb. Who's horny in those conditions? Yeah. Stupid me says no. I'd better get back to my place. I've got class in a few hours. Girls don't like to say they want sex. So they say stupid ht instead. And everyone is a loser. During the first few weeks of university, me and a girl I lived with in halls spent lots of time together. We chatted about both having recently broken up with our previous partners. Even drunkenly kissed each other on a night out. One night when a female friend of hers was sharing her bed, she knocked on my door and complained there wasn't enough room to sleep in her own bed and wanted to hop in mine. I thought this was strange as we both had identical rooms. With identical single beds. And therefore there would be no extra space in my bed. Anyway, I let her in as she was cool and I proceeded to put on my heinous pajamas in an awkward dance. We got in bed together and I went to sleep. Took me about a year to clock that this was prime sex time. She was a stunner and I never got the chance again. Still makes me twitch with regret from time to time.